Alright, what's going on, big dogs? SG Leo here, and in today's video we are going to be covering the Chris Tyson and Mr. Beast controversy going around right now. So sit back, relax, and let's dig into this one. Alright guys, so I'm sure most of you know who Mr. Beast is. Obviously he is the biggest YouTuber ever. The guy rakes in billions of views and does some of the most insane, crazy video ideas that I've ever seen, even though they're more generally geared towards a younger audience, young teens and, young children. He does have some very interesting and just out of pocket video ideas. Like he redid Squid Games, which was super cool and has hundreds of millions of views. The guy's a genius when it comes to actually gathering a following on social media and promoting his stuff, right? The guy is a genius. Not to mention that the guy himself has done so much for charity, curing the blind, doing stuff like that. Like he's been all over the place and done some of the most amazing things. But Mr. Beast has now come under fire because one of his co-stars, someone who has been on his channel since the beginning, basically, Chris Tyson, has now officially transitioned to a woman. Okay. The reason he's under fire is because really this puts Mr. Beast in a pretty tough spot, right? Right now, as we all know, the transgender community and just the political tension between that as a whole is really, really tight right now. Like the rope is about to snap one way or the other. And a lot of people are now not allowing their children to watch Mr. Beast. And a lot of people have just unsubscribed from him for allowing Chris to stay on his show, at least currently. Now, the other option is that eventually he does kind of wean Chris out of this. And that kind of seems to be the way things are going. Of course, Chris did his thing and transitioned. They did a video together, and I'll put some photos up. I don't want to put the video up and risk getting copy struck or something like that. But basically, Chris and Mr. Beast here are opening letters and opening mail from fans. And Mr. Beast just looks sad almost, or kind of just off-put a little bit. Now, of course, seeing one of your best friends go from being a father figure, literally has a wife and kids, to now being a woman and acting unlike himself at all, can be really hard. Now, maybe Mr. Beast will overcome this, or maybe he won't, but I really want to focus in on Chris, okay, and why this is such a polarizing ordeal. So, Chris Tyson, again, has been a long-time individual on Mr. Beast's channel, okay? And from almost every single source that has been on the internet, whether it's been from Sneeko, past producers, past editors, videographers, people like that who have worked with Mr. Beast, Chris has always been kind of that yeehaw kind of conservative individual, right? He's always been kind of the reckless one of the bunch and always kind of been more of the more like comic relief almost in the background of things. So that's how they've all known him. And not only that, he ended up getting married and ended up having a child named Tucker, I believe, a little son of his. And then to just randomly transition out of nowhere, basically, according to most sources, is surprising to a lot of people. Now, the point I want to make here, and this is the one I want to get across, is I don't think that people should be applauding Chris right now for leaving his family, okay? Once you bring a child into the world, you no longer, your like happiness now becomes like a background ordeal, right? Sure, I might want to stay inside one night and play games with my friends, or maybe I just want to stay in and watch a movie with my wife or something. But if I have a kid and the kid has something going on or isn't feeling well or whatever, that's my responsibility now, right? Now, Chris has come out and said that he's still going to be a supportive father or mother or whatever the hell he's calling himself now. But now he has to like explain to this kid that daddy is no longer daddy, and that the reason daddy and mommy are splitting up is because daddy has health issues that he refuses to get fixed. So I think I pray for this child. I really do. And I feel so bad for his wife. Like, not only did he date this girl, he marries her, has a child with her, and then just decides one day, you know what? I'm a woman. I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, do you see the like craziness in that? Like how wild that is? I don't know if it's because, Mr. Beast and all them, I believe they're out in LA. Correct me if I'm wrong down below, but I believe they're all out in LA. I don't know if he's been being told things by people or what the hell happened to Chris. I really don't. But him doing this not only puts his family in a tough spot, but now Mr. Beast is suffering from this. Now, Mr. Beast has already been under a lot of fire recently, specifically due to him doing charitable work and recording it, and then people saying he's only doing it for the money. Like, a lot of his videos, he has openly stated don't make jack shit for money, and he just does them because they're charitable things and he has the money to spend. That's just the kind of guy he is. Chris is now putting him in a tough spot, because if he keeps Chris on the show, he's more than likely going to lose a lot of viewers. He really is. He's more than likely going to lose a lot of viewers. And I hate to say this, but to all corporations, all people out there who want to support, this transgender shit, why is it that most of the companies that are doing this, their target audience isn't even transgender individuals? Like Bud Light just did it, and then that's not even like a core of their audience. Like they saw a massive, they lost like $7 billion because transgender people already didn't drink your piss water. So why the hell would all of a sudden, because you're like, look at our rainbow can, they would just come and drink it anyways? If they don't like your product, they're not going to just like it all of a sudden because you say, like, we're pro-trans. That's not how this works, all right? But you want to know who will stop watching it? All the people who already were, who aren't pro-trans, right? Like, Bud Light was a super, like, blue-collar, hard-working guy type of beer, right? That's the guys who are buying it, were a bunch of blue-collar dudes or frat guys. And then they come out and say that shit, and then they're surprised that they lost a bunch of money. And Mr. Beast has went out on Twitter now, and he has said that, he supports his friend Chris, but again, just from the few videos that I've seen of him and Chris being around each other, it doesn't seem like he really supports it. He's very hesitant on a lot of his answers when he's been asked about these kind of things and stuff like that through news articles. So, I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he's just still trying to learn how to cope with everything going on. But if I was Mr. Beast, I'd be pissed. I'd be so mad. Because it's like, not only are you doing this and hurting your child and your wife on top of that, but now you are hurting your friends because you don't want to seek help, or because, this is so much more important than everybody else, right? That you're happy, right? Heaven forbid that everyone else is. All that matters in the world now is that you yourself are happy. That's not how life works, man. Like, you can't just do this and then tell everybody else that it's me or you. That's basically what he's done to Mr. Beast. Now, if Mr. Beast lets him go, which, from what I can tell and from just the rumblings on the internet, I have a feeling that Chris is going to, like, slowly drift off of the show, because that's really what Mr. Beast is. He's basically a television show for a young audience that just does crazy shit, right? That's basically what he is. And from what I'm able to tell, and from what I'm able to read on the internet and people who have talked to Mr. Beast and all those things like that, from my understanding is they're going to kind of wean him off the show, so he's just going to basically be less and less involved with Mr. Beast until people just kind of forget about it, which is honestly the safest route, because at least then you kind of satisfy everybody. It gives it time for this whole thing to die down, and then he's not getting labeled a transphobe, and, his friend is able to finish his transition crap and ruin his family elsewhere, right? So I think Mr. Beast, if he does it that way, I think he's playing it right, but I really think he just needs to cut Chris loose and be like, hey, man, this isn't working. Like, you're now ruining my life, because you doing this has lost me subscribers, has lost me money, has lost me, like, time and energy, because now I'm having to answer all these goddamn questions all the time about what the hell I'm going to do with you. So, and he's clearly a busy individual, right? So I don't think he has the time or really wants to, like, use his time and energy to go around and answer all these questions about his friend who did something that he himself has no control over, right? Now, I don't think people should be attacking him and telling him that he needs to get rid of Chris. If Mr. Beast wants to keep him on the show, he wants to keep him on the show. We can just not watch him, right? I already didn't watch Mr. Beast. I'm not somebody who has watched him. My siblings watch him, and I know my parents aren't allowing them to watch him anymore. And I see it all over. Twitter is a really left-leaning site, right? Like, most people who are on Twitter are very left-leaning. And even on Twitter, I'm seeing people being like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're not letting our kid watch that crap anymore. Because that's not what your channel was about, His channel was about just this dude who did crazy things with money and made people do wild things for money. And then he'd set up crazy games and things like that to go along with it. And it was all fun and whatever. And now this one person is basically turning the show for kids into some political spectrum, right? Because at some point, if he stays on the show, Mr. Beast is going to have to sit there and talk about how he supports it and talks about how, you know, this is awesome and wonderful. And they're going to have to do trans events and do all these other things because that's just how this rolls, right? It's never enough just to have Chris on the show. You have to like fully buy in to everything that these people are doing. So I think if I was Mr. Beast, I'd cut him loose. I really would. He's lost several. I don't really know the exact numbers of loss. If I can find him, I'll put him up on the screen here. But he's lost a lot of subs, or a few subs, and he's not getting as many views because of this. And a lot of people are just done watching him now. And when this is your livelihood, you kind of have to make hard choices sometimes, right? You gotta cut friends go sometimes. You know, this is just a sad ordeal. I honestly hope Chris gets the help he needs. I really do. I don't, you know, I hate seeing people like this, but at the end of the day, I guess even if Mr. Beast stays or allows him to stay on the show, I feel terrible for that kid and for that wife of his. Like, that's so sad. You know, I feel really bad for them. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think down below. Do you think that Mr. Beast should let him go, or do you think he should stay on the show? Have you quit watching Mr. Beast, or do you not really care? Let me know down below, you guys. If you did enjoy the video, remember, please leave a like, comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, guys. It really means a ton. Come check me out over on Twitch. I'm live there almost every single day playing any game you can really imagine. And yeah, thank you guys for your time, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a good night, guys.
I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body in Harvard above me.